Welcome back to the Strategic Veteran. I'm your host, Adam Peters, and I want you to picture this. You give nearly a decade to the Marine Corps, earn your stripes, survive undercover assignments and assassination attempts, and then watch it all almost burn down in an instant. Alienated, desk bound, identity stripped clean. For Tony Crescenzo, Crucible wasn't some war story to toast over beers. It was the moment the Brotherhood evaporated and the real fight for self began. These days, Tony leads from the front in the tech world and on the home front for veterans. Every new job, every team, and every initiative is about providing what you that you can rebuild your own scars and use them to lift others up. Whether you're clawing your way out of a bad transition or just fed up with faking it, this conversation is for you. You're going to hear what gets left out of the LinkedIn posts and what it takes to actually move forward, especially on the days when it doesn't feel possible. So let's get into it. Tony, brother, welcome to the show, man.
Adam, thanks for having me. That was a great introduction.
Well, I appreciate it. It's really your words, man. You just gave me the information and I turned it into something.
Well, you made me sound cool. That's not normal.
well, I think you're cool, man. Dude, let's just jump right in, man. First question for everybody. Where did you grow up and what inspired you to become a Marine?
So I grew up in South Philadelphia in the neighborhood that Rocky was made when Rocky was made. So think
that's really cool. Actually.
Very, very blue collar, very ethnic Italian, big Italian family. Until I was about 10 years old, and then my parents had divorced. My mother remarried. She married a naval officer who clearly was getting moved around a lot. So I think from the age of 10 to 17. I lived in Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Hawaii, Japan, and New Jersey. I wound up going to 5 high schools in my academic
career. 4 years.
Yeah, which is kind of tough, right? You're and any of you who are military brats, you know what that's like. You're always the new guy, so you're usually getting beat up on your first couple of days of school. And I had skipped a grade when I was younger, so I was littler than everybody else, but my mouth was bigger, so that was a real combination for trouble.
That'll get you in trouble, right?
Exactly. So I went from this, kind of like what happens when you do a transition out of the military. You lose your tribe because you're so ingrained in that. When you come from a big, close Italian family every Sunday at the grandparents' house for dinner, and then you're whisked away and you're 6,000 miles away with people you don't know, it's the same kind of a loss.
So what was the decision to join the Marine Corps then?
Well, so there's 2 things. I'm old. Most of your listeners are probably younger than me. I was not in World War I.
Surprised. It runs the gamut, man. I've had old guys and young guys. Yeah. I have so many people, old guys and young guys alike, that reach out because of the show. So you're in good company.
Well, I'm not necessarily that old. I'm just high mileage.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting there myself.
But I grew up. We were stationed in Hawaii in the 70s during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
My stepfather had served on, I think it was the Okinawa, which is a helicopter carrier, with a guy who you'd never think is a Marine. He's like 5'7", 120 pounds, soaking wet. His name was Steve Pless, and interesting guy. I met him when he stopped in Hawaii for a couple of weeks on his way back to Washington. He was a Huey pilot, and they're sitting in the wardroom watching a John Wayne movie of all things, right? And that always cracks me up because people join the Army for a lot of reasons. People join the Air Force for a great way of life. The Air Force E3s live better than Marine Corps O10s.
Of course. Yes.
The Navy, you join to see the world. People join the Marine Corps to be John Wayne in Sands of Iwo Jima, but they all forget that John Wayne dies in Sands of Iwo Jima. So I meet this guy. He's this fiery little dude who's just full of himself and just an inspirational guy. He's a real character. He's sitting in the wardroom watching a John Wayne movie. The alarm goes off. There's a platoon of Marines on a beach. North Vietnamese are decimating them. They can't get in the water because it's filled with sharks and sea snakes. He comes in, 2 Huey gunships and a CH-47. They go to pick up this platoon of Marines. The Chinook essentially gets shot up so bad it has to leave. The other Huey gets shot down. And here's a guy now in one helicopter. All the rounds are coming at him. He's doing this on the beach. He's swiveling while his guns are going off. And the Marines are crawling under his machine gun fire to get on the helicopter, completely overloaded. Skids are hitting the water, tops of the waves as he's trying to get back to the helicopter. He winds up slamming it down onto the deck of the Iwo Jima. goes for his debrief, takes off his helmet, an AK round falls out. It had come in one side and fallen out the other. Now, I didn't hear this from him. I heard this from other people. He didn't really talk about anything. And they had something like 400 bullet holes in that helicopter. And anybody who's listening to this podcast who's ever been in a UE or any kind of helicopter, all the shielding is around the engines, not around the people. I mean, they tell you not to lean back so you don't pierce the skin. So how this guy survived is amazing. But he was coming back to DC to get the Medal of Honor. And he's actually up on the wall down in Washington. Another interesting side note, he goes to get some Medal of Honor. Commandant of the Marine Corps says, hey, what would you really like to do? Anything you want to do, we'll let you do. And he said, I want to fly jets. So they sent him to Pensacola for transition training. And he was a biker. He was a big motorcycle guy. And he really liked to jump that drawbridge in Pensacola. And one day he had a little too much to drink. He went to jump the bridge and the bridge was open too far and he didn't make it. But every witness to that incident, which resulted in him dying, reported that he was screaming "Oorah" the whole way down. So I thought, boy, that's a guy. I was a little guy. I'm still a little guy. Never, I'm 5'10", 100 and nothing. And I thought, man, that guy really, he's a big guy. People just got out of his way. And I never really thought about it. And I was in my freshman year of college, and I made a wrong turn on the way to a Charles Kuralt lecture for those old people who know who Charles Kuralt was. And I ran into a Marine recruiter. And I thought, man, what a great way to spite my parents. You want to spite Navy parents? Join the Marine Corps. But by the way, kids at home, not a good idea. That doesn't work well.
So what did you end up doing in the Marine Corps?
I did a lot of interesting things. I was an 0211. That's a counterintelligence Marine. My first couple of things I did, I was stationed at, I think every unit I served in the Marine Corps doesn't exist anymore. 3rd Land Battalion, 2nd FAD Battery, Marine Wing Weapons Unit 2, even the independent duty stations. But I was also a Beirut Marine. I was assigned to 3rd Land Battalion, which had a forward anti-air defense missile battery, and they were worried about airplanes flying into ships even back then in the 80s. So I would go, in the Marine Corps, we call it TAD, and the Navy it's TAD, and everywhere else it's TDY. So I'd go out there for a couple of weeks every once in a while. And I was off the coast when the bomb went off, so I was involved in some of that. When I came back, I was assigned to an instructor staff in New Jersey. But I got sidelined and wound up talking to, if you're familiar with military terms, with your monitor, that's kind of your assignment person, who was assigned to go undercover and work with what as NCIS, back then was NIS. By the way, it's not as cool as the TV show. I think most NIS agents were FBI Academy washouts. Having said that, Dave Brandt, if you're listening, there are some good NIS agents. But I wound up being assigned. I got cross-trained as what's called a unit diary clerk. I also went to programmer's school because they weren't really sure how someone was defrauding the system to create people who didn't exist. They were part of, there was an administrative chief who was a gunnery sergeant who was creating people that didn't exist, getting paychecks, making up ID cards, and going to the Broad Street National Bank in Trenton and cashing the checks.
What?
Yeah. So about 7 months of that. Eventually, one day, he and I walk into the Broad Street Bank with a bunch of checks and some fake ID cards. And of course, every teller is an NIS agent, which was kind of fun. And I thought I was done until it turned out that there was a drug conspiracy going on there that apparently the battalion commander was aware of. And so I thought I was going to go home. Instead, I wound up staying another 18 months, going on a lot of really interesting activities with basically the entire enlisted staff, seven Marines, first sergeant down to staff sergeant, were using drugs, selling drugs, and every month we got a piss test. Everybody's been in the military knows you get a piss test, and they had the Navy corpsman on the payroll, and they would take the case of bottles over to the first sergeant's house, and they change it for their kids' urine. So they wound up, after 18 months, we went out on a funeral detail, and when we came back, the place was swarming with NIS agents, and all of a sudden they opened up the charge sheets, and here's my name on everything. By the way, I was a corporal at the time, so everybody else was senior to me. And it was not handled well. The regimental commander told the convening authority, who was a captain, that he didn't want to have a court martial. It looked bad for the Marine Corps. Most ethical, moral officer I ever served under. He gave up his career to do the right thing and prosecuted these people anyway, and lost his job. They were replaced by, and if you're a Marine on this call or listening to this podcast, you probably know we're pretty darn small. Everybody knows everybody. So they were replaced by friends of theirs, and they did a pretty good job of trying to dissuade me from a lot of things. In fact, the Marine Corps was supposed to move me out of there, but instead they sent me back to go work for that gunnery sergeant who had just been convicted at a court martial and lost his stripe. Yeah. Needs of the Marine Corps. It was important for me to stay there because apparently I was now a clerk, not a counterintelligence Marine. Battalion commander transitioned out. I'm writing letters to the sergeant major of the Marine Corps, my congressman, and I'm working next to these people that I'm testifying against. And 2 of the other witnesses were murdered. And there were a couple of attempts on me, and yet I was still forced to go back to that building. So, if you're thinking, boy, when I transition, I really lose my tribe. Imagine, you guys if you're familiar with the motto of the Marine Corps, it's Semper Fidelis, always faithful, right? We don't leave our dead or wounded on the battlefield. But corporals are apparently very expendable in the Marine Corps. So I wound up spending a couple of months basically back to back with a sergeant who was there with me. We didn't even go to the head unless we were together, literally back to back. And to this day, he's a retired CW04, is my best friend. But we wound up going to the court martial. Everybody got convicted, and then the replacement for the new first sergeant decided to play some head games with me. I wound up getting charged with about 26 different things. I selected a court martial rather than non-judicial punishment. Those of you who are familiar with NJP. Mm-hmm. And I was convicted of being 20 minutes late to work and fined $20.
That's all they could get you on, huh? And 26 counts and $20 is all they got you for.
And that night, I got a phone call from my monitor telling me that my congressman had reached out to the Marine Corps and he had instruction to send me anywhere in the world that I wanted to go. To which I replied, send me to the closest place in my home of record. Fuck you, fuck the Marine Corps, I'm getting out. And they sent me to another instructor staff up in Garden City, New York, made me a files clerk. I sat in a room for 8 months alone, no windows. Of course, nobody wanted to hang out with, a guy. The whole unit was court-martialed, right? The officer, the OIC got relieved, and all the Marines got court-martialed. So I thought, I'll just wait my time and get out. And that's a great thing about the Marine Corps. I'm saying a lot of things that they didn't do right, but when you join the Marine Corps, you're told, what you put in, you get out. And it may take everybody between you and a doggone commandant to make that happen. But 8 months to the day that I reported on that unit, that's when I received a letter of commendation from the commandant, a medal. I got a check for $20. They overturned my court-martial, and a copy of the letter of apology that P.X. Kelly, then the commandant of the Marine Corps, sent to my mother. I was meritoriously promoted, went back down to re-interview, because once you're out of CI in the Marine Corps, you don't get to go back. I went back to re-interview. I remember being in front of this panel, and they asked me to explain my court-martial, and I just showed them the letter from the commandant, and I saw the endorsement that said, hey, the guy's a sergeant and we really like him. We'll take him back. And then the funny thing is, I got trained as a computer programmer so I could understand what was happening in that. And it turned out I was pretty good at it. And I received an offer from a technology company in New York City. I was coming up on my end of service, and it was like 3 times what a sergeant makes. So I got out of the Marine Corps and started a technology career. I wound up building interesting thing that my congressman was Jim Florio from New Jersey. I wrote that letter. He really, stepped up and helped me. He eventually became the governor of New Jersey, and I wound up writing the budget books for him and building the payroll system for the state when I was working for this technology company. So I actually got to meet him and spend some time with him. It's funny how things like that come around.
So it was a no-brainer for you to get out. You just take the technology job after the way the Marine Corps had treated you, even though they made it right, which I think that speaks volumes about the Marine Corps. You got a letter from your mother got a letter from the commandant of apology. That's pretty cool.
Well, I was more concerned with the fact that, everybody had, the Marine Corps is small. Everybody knows everybody. These guys had friends. Was I going to be looking over my shoulder for the rest of my career?
Right.
The funny thing is, for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I didn't want anything to do with the Marine Corps. Now I'm on the advisory board of the Semper Fi Fund. If you look at the board of directors of the company I run, the Marine general who fought the Battle of Fallujah is on it. I would consider myself very good friends with a couple of former commandants, General Conway in particular. It turns out, right back where I started, 30 years later. So it's funny how life comes around. But what I learned from that, to be completely sort of transparent about it, is that choosing the right over the expedient, man, that's going to hurt you. In the short term, that's going to hurt. Just know it. You're going to get punched in the face, and nobody's going to like you, and everybody's going to tell you you're making a wrong decision, and just do what's easy. But in the long term, well, I would say I'm very close friends with commandants and former commandants, friends with generals in the Marine Corps. I, support the Semper Fi Fund along with a lot of other veterans organizations. Choosing the expedient over the right, no, that's going to get you over the near-term hump, but you're going to regret that for the rest of your life.
Oh, man, this is such a good lesson for where we're headed when we start talking about the transition and what you can do to make because it's so true. Often choosing yourself versus listening to the noise when you get out is way harder. It's exactly what you're talking about, the expedient versus the hard choice. And it is hard to choose something that you know nothing about, to make your own path in this world and ignore the noise. But I'm curious, was it fun doing the undercover work?
I don't know. Is it?
I mean, there's all these movies, and you get this like Hollywood kind of image of like what it would be like to be undercover and like doing that stuff. And like, I'm sure at times you're scared shitless. You're in situations but also like I could see how it'd be exhilarating and like, man, I can't wait to it's this dichotomy, I guess.
I hate when people answer questions with questions, but I'm going to answer that question with a question for you, and then I'll give you a straight answer.
Yeah.
You spent, 7 years downrange, 4 years downrange, 5 years downrange?
Yeah, I have almost 5 years of
actual
combat time.
Yeah, you got 5 years in combat. Did you enjoy it? Is combat fun?
The easy answer to that is, yeah, I enjoyed it, man. It was a simple life. The rules are clear. I felt myself longing to be on deployments, but I think that's the nature of the beast when you do it as much as I did it, right?
Well, let me tell you what I know from a neuroscience perspective. Addiction, PTSD, undercover combat, all the same thing on an EEG. They look exactly alike. It's an addiction, right? It increases your adrenaline, your dopamine, your serotonin. And you're scared shitless. Don't get me wrong. I've been scared shitless in combat. I was scared shitless most of the time I was working. And the way that I describe my days in that era was anybody who's ever cleared a house in Iraq is you're standing in front of that house. Usually in the Marine Corps, it's 13 people. Right? You got 12 people in a squad and a corpsman. And you're in your stick, you're ready to go. Everybody's got their hand on the shoulder in front of the guy, and the lieutenant walks up, and he walks up to you and says, "Hey, take off your helmet, and now get those sappy plates." No, don't take the sappy plates out. Take off your whole body armor. All right, give me that rifle. All right, here's a pistol. All right, now stick it under the back of your coat. All right, now you go in alone. That's every day for 2 years. And so, the fact that you can outgame other people, right? I was a human guy. I was a human intelligence guy. So, funny story I'll get to after this, but the game is a fun game, but when you lose the game, you lose your life.
Right.
And although it's funny, you have to ask yourself, was it worth it, not worth it? The only way to know that is to look around you today and say, am I where I want to be or not where I want to be? Because that was a trial, a crucible that you go through that creates in you the resilience that serves you for the rest of your career, serves you for the rest of your life. Now, having said that, I forgot the funny part of that. You're asking me about, is it fun?
I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun. Like, there's just something about it. I don't know. I'm weird like that, though.
It's definitely not. It's not doing clerk work, that's for sure. But
yeah, you're not sitting behind a desk, that's for sure.
The only problem is, imagine you're downranger in just regular old combat. When I say regular combat, there's people shooting at you, you're shooting people back, and you get nobody's ever, as far as I know, in my experience, no one's ever brave in combat. They just do shit because it's in front of them, right? So, and I have some friends that are Navy Cross winners from the Battle of Fallujah. Just the things they did, I can't imagine. But in the moment, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
So in the moment, you're doing your job. It's muscle memory. We all go through that. That's why we train so hard. And at the end of it, this guy, gets a Navy Cross. And by the way, most of the people I know with those kinds of medals, they have a lot of issues because they don't believe they deserve it. None of us really believe we deserve it. Problem is, when you do something and you think you've done it all right, and then the organization that's your tribe, where you belong, court-martials you for it, you look around and go, wait a minute. There's a sign out front of the 3rd Battalion Chow Hall in Paris Island. I never forgot what it said on it. It says, "A Marine on duty has no friends." That's a hard one when you're 23 years old, 24 years old. It's hard when you're 18, right? So it's just it's something that you have to look back on and say, did I uphold? It's weird to say at 23 you have better standards than the rest of the Marine Corps, but at that point in my life, I realized I did. And that in a lot of ways, made my transition easier because I had that sort of rock solid understanding of who I was at a young age.
Yeah, let's talk about your transition. How many years did you do before you took the tech job and got out? Like eight, right?
Eight in total. Okay. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. They didn't have transitions in the military when I was in.
So those that are listening, transition assistance didn't really come about till like 2011. Yeah. So, and then it was revamped in 2014, probably for the worse. They didn't change anything. They just made it.
My transition counseling consisted of me walking into the sergeant major's office and him saying, "Take off that fucking uniform and go home." That was it.
Roger that, Sergeant Major. I'm out.
Right. And make sure you check out of housing and clean up your house because I was in enlisted housing. That was it. And it was funny. My transition was a tough one because at that point, there weren't a lot of people in the military. And if you served in the military, most people would, after you got out, would look at you and go, "Oh, that's really sad. Couldn't get a real job." Oh, well, you're home.
I've heard that. I didn't experience that, obviously, because I joined in 2002. So, things were definitely shifting. I'm a GWAT, era veteran, I guess, if that's what you want to call it now. So my experience is very different, but it never really made sense to me. Like, you didn't have any other options. Like, I chose the hard thing.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Like and I get like, a lot of people are, why would you go and join the military? You didn't have any other options. Kind of no, I didn't have any other options. I grew up in Southern Indiana and I didn't own a farm and I didn't own the companies that support the farms. Right. Yeah. So, whatever, but I took a chance and went and saw the world and did some shit that you're never, ever going to have an opportunity to do. You know what I mean? And I got all these skills on the other side of it. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, you couldn't find a real job. It's like, man, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in the job that I did.
Well, tell me if this thought's ever crossed your mind, right? You transition out, you get in your first job, or you're just walking down the street and you look at these people and you think to yourself, Jesus Christ, I killed better people than this guy. Or you look at him and go, boy, the guys I was fighting against, I got more respect for. At least they showed up.
And look, I'll tell you, Tony, this is a common problem that I'm seeing right now. There's a lot of veterans out there that are getting into these corporate jobs where mediocrity is the standard, and it's killing us, dude. It's so bad, and civilians will do anything to protect the standard that is mediocrity, and I think it's a big part of why we are struggling now. If you saw my post this morning, which is already getting a lot of attention, I talked to a veteran yesterday. He's got all the degrees, the advanced degrees, and he's just being told, "Oh, you don't have enough experience." And it's like, motherfucker, what do I have to do to get ahead here?
That's true. It's funny. It's a little different in the defense contracting industry, where if you go look at monster.com for the best companies for veterans, I think you're going to find Boeing or Lockheed is number one.
Yeah.
This logo over my shoulder, Intelligent Waves, we're number two. 65% of our employees are veterans. 70% of that group are combat veterans. Probably half are special operators or Marines. It was funny. You talked about how I was a UMINT guy.
Yeah.
And that never goes away. That was 40 years ago.
Right.
I show up at this company and I've got some former Delta folks who work here. And Delta people, if you've ever been to SEER school, survival, evasion, resistance, escape, where you practice getting interrogated in ways that most civilians would crap their pants around. For the first 3 months, I could never get the guy to give me a straight answer. Every time I wanted to talk to him, he clammed up. And it turned out, as a UMint guy, my whole thing is how to get people to talk to you. And as a guy who's been through SEER, his whole thing was when he sees that, he clams right up and asks for a cookie. So
I'm not going to talk to you.
we didn't realize until we had a conversation about, hey, what'd you do in the Marine Corps? What'd you do in the Army? And we're like, oh, shit, that's why we're having this issue. Now we've kind of been through it. But it's one of the outcomes. But back to sort of transition. So back then, there were no transition assistants. My first job, I was writing pill bottle quality control code at Merck, the pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, in this big 300-yard long building with a bunch of very smart data scientists. And anybody who's listening who's either been to Jersey or is from Jersey, people from Jersey have a little bit different attitude. And
this guy was different attitude?
The guy was kind of an asshole. He was mean to everybody, and he was condescending.
Just tell it like it is.
Well, in the Marine Corps, there's no such thing as HR. If you have a problem at work in the Marine Corps, you step behind. And by the way, that's true today. I talked to a couple of Marine Raiders just about a month ago about this. You step behind the squad bay, you get about 5 minutes of exercise, you go have a beer. That's the end of it. So what did I know? And this guy is basically being an asshole for 3 or 4 months. And finally, I said to him one day, hey, listen, you talk to me like that again, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. And he thought it was, it's Jersey. So that's just, breakfast talk. And it wasn't. And as soon as he said something, I got up and he started running. So I chased him all through the building, chased him into the parking lot, which, by the way, is like a no sock wearing, gets his shirts folded so you can see they're dry clean, BMW driving douchebag. And he gets in that car and he peels out of the parking lot. And this is before cell phones, by the way. So I'm sitting there looking at my watch thinking, this is the point in my career where I become a UPS driver. And about 20 minutes later, our boss calls and I'm like, oh, shit, here I go. So I get in the car, I drive over to the office. I walk in and he's got this funny look on his face. And he says, so tell me what happened. And I said, guy's an asshole. He's condescending to everybody. I told him twice, don't do it. I told him if he kept it up, I was going to beat the shit out of him. And he did. So I chased him into the parking lot. And my boss looked at me and he laughs and he goes, well, I know you just got out of the military. And I know Marines are a little bit different than everybody else, and I know you weren't going to hurt the guy. And I said, no, if I'd have caught him, I'd have beat the shit out of him. And my boss looked at me and said,
absolutely going to hurt
him. Oh, yeah. My boss looked at me and said, well, be that as it may, he is kind of an asshole, so we just fired him. Try not to hurt anybody. Go back to work. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? Am I on candid camera? My boss was a retired Air Force colonel, 31 combat missions in Vietnam. Okay. But for him, where would I be? I'd be probably couldn't get a job at UPS. They do background checks on that stuff. But my whole career is filled with people like that, right? Where this pay it forward, help each other is a big deal. And I had a lot of those issues, like a lot of veterans. I had some really tough times. We talked before we came online about some of the struggles that we all have. I thought about eating a bullet more than once myself, looking around and just thinking I'm never going to fit back in. I don't, I'm not like these people.
It's a sense of not belonging, right? Like you almost feel like there's no place for you.
Exactly. Right. You're so different.
You don't fit in anywhere. There's no purpose behind anything. It's like, why am I waking up every day?
You lose your purpose. You lose your tribe. You lose your identity.
Those are the three big things that I've been able to really press on a lot. It's number one is identity. Number two is purpose. And then, like you were saying, tribe, network, friend group, whatever that looks like. And you're actually speaking to the networking piece of this now. You just said you've had so many people that have helped you along the way. I didn't understand for the longest time that having people behind you asking for help, people to help you get where you're, I thought everybody did it alone. And I think that's a big thing that we carry with us, right? Is you have to figure this shit out on your own. We kind of revert back to that when we get out because we don't, I guess, really connect with people in a way that you do. I mean, when you PCS or change duty stations or go to a new unit, you automatically already speak the language. You already fit in. Nothing is really different. It's just new faces and names. And pretty instantly there's 2 or 3 guys or gals that you just instantly or gravitate
Yeah.
towards and you get along with.
Yeah.
It's instant friendship. And then you get out of the civilian world and that all goes away. You have no idea how to talk to these people. You speak in acronyms that they don't understand, and you can't do anything about it because your whole life is ingrained in acronyms,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you lose all of it. You're just like, I can't make friends. I can't have conversations in a language that I speak. And man, we've obviously lived through this, right? And so I love that you're talking about, finding people that help you. A 31 combat mission Air Force guy had your back, fired the employee who was being an asshole because he got it.
I didn't even know it at the time. That was the funny part. That's the funny thing. You just don't know who's going to step up. I mean, I probably spent 15, 20 years hating the Marine Corps after I got out. And what changed that for me was running into a retired 3-star who talked about how great the NCOs were in the 80s, and I almost punched him in the face over it. And it turned out he became one of my career mentors and the person that I sort of look up to for all of this. It's you don't realize it, right? You look around and you think, well, I'm sure you may either know one or you are one. The guy who goes from 0 to fuck you in 10 seconds. Nobody wants to get in a car with him because if you cut him off, it's on.
Used to be that guy, yeah. Not anymore.
Or maybe his second wife, because his first wife left him. Maybe his second wife tells him, "Hey, ever since I've known you, you've been in more fights than all the men I've ever dated in my life combined." That was me. That was me until about 3.5 years ago. I just thought, well, if the asshole doesn't get out of my way, that's his problem, not mine, right? And bar fights are exercise. That's what do you mean people get upset when you hit them? What are you talking about?
And you were like this till 3 years ago?
Pretty much. I mean, my second wife is a lovely woman. So I really give her a lot of credit for sticking with me. But you don't even realize it, right? You're like a frog in a pot of water. During the pandemic, I went to she wanted Rocky Road ice cream, and they didn't have it in the grocery store where we have a beach house that's on the Eastern Shore of Virginia. So I went into this kind of real rednecky part of town, and they were waiting for these 2 young ladies to get out of the way so I could get some ice cream because they didn't have their masks on. And I said, would you guys mind putting your mask on or moving a little bit so I can get ice cream? And they started yelling at me. And I'm kind of an asshole too. So I gave it right back, started teasing them. They're following me around the store, coughing on me. And so I got to I have a truck. I go out, put my groceries in the back of the truck, and I turn around and here's these 2 women standing behind me. And now they got their 2, 220-pound boyfriends that look like their asses full of chewed bubble gum. Probably some, high school football star or something. And they're cracking their knuckles.
Holding on to the glory days, yeah.
Well, wait, so this girl looks at me and tells her boyfriend, yeah, that's a guy that's bothering me. What are you, like 75 years old? And I turn around, I look at the guy and I go, Morty, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. He steps into me and I hit him once and he goes down to the ground. And I look at the other guy and I go, how about you, champ? You want a shot at the title? And no, I'm okay. And I turn to the girl and I say, when he wakes up, tell him an old man knocked him out. And I get in the car and I go home and I don't think anything about it. Tell my wife, hey, here's your ice cream. This funny thing happened. These 2 assholes and their boyfriends come out. And she's like, oh, that's a terrible story. I don't want the ice cream. And I'm like, bullshit. You eat that ice cream. I had to knock a guy out to get it. Right?
Oh, Jesus.
What happened for me, and I won't bore you with the details, but I mis-Googled directions to a meeting I was having with an intelligence agency. I am the CEO of a defense contractor. And when I mis-Googled it, I came upon a document that was written in 1983. I'm a big physics nerd. Turned out that everything in the document that was predicted in 83 came true. And it had originated at a place that still existed. And there was a technology that they were using. And I actually went down and tried it. And in 6 days, I changed completely. I no longer had night. I don't know about you. I was the 3-night-a-week, kick your wife out of bed guy, screaming and kicking for 2 wives, right? And a daughter who would tell you maybe I was a little short-tempered or a lot short-tempered. But once I started to understand how this worked and understood the neuroscience of it, we went out and acquired the technology. And now we've built a business and a company that does this full-time. We're currently, I can't use names because we're under NDAs, but we're currently working with a number of veterans, one of whom is a 21 TBI, 24-year Navy SEAL who can't sleep, can't fall asleep, can't stay asleep, brain fog, hard to make decisions. And in 28, 30 days, we're seeing massive changes in people's neurology, and they're getting better, right? They're feeling better, right? They don't want to, I don't know about you, if you may have some friends who they don't want to get out of bed in the morning, they don't want to brush their teeth, they don't want to PT, they're just dead inside. And this, like I said, helped me in a week. Became so important to what I was doing that I wanted to turn this into something that we could do for every veteran. So I would just say, if you want to try this technology, you can text Peak Trial, PEAKTRIAL, to 201-908-2820. And if you're a veteran or a first responder, you're just going to get it for a complimentary trial. Just go ahead and try it. It works. We ran a study 2 years ago with 160 participants, military veterans, the retired Surgeon General of the Air Force. We had a guy like you, 7 tours downrange, Army Ranger. Interesting guy. The other people in his study group reported that every morning he got up and he'd run 3 miles up this mountain on a gravel road. And one day he goes outside and it's raining like hell and he's doing push-ups on the gravel road. And here comes a UPS truck and everybody's glued to the window, hoping that UPS truck doesn't hit them because they don't want to see the UPS truck get destroyed. And he spent a week in this program and came out of it and stood up at the end of it and said, boy, I just spent the last year on every psychedelic therapy you can have for PTSD. And this worked in a week for me.
Well, let's talk about it. What is Intelligent Waves? What is Peak Neuro? What are you doing with your company? What is this technology? I'm fascinated, man. I fixed myself with ayahuasca. That's not a big secret to anybody who's listened to this show before. I very much believe in the power of plant medicine. We talked briefly in the beginning,
Sure.
In the green room. You said you've got a lot of buddies. I'm sure you are probably a nerd like me and have dove into the science of the rewiring of neural pathways and all of that comes from psychedelics. And so I'm really fascinated, man.
Exactly.
All this alternative healing technology. I want to know what you're doing with Intelligent Waves and Peak Neuro, because that's my goal with this program and everything that I do in the advocacy is there is a better way than 9 years of combinations of pills at the VA that strip you of your humanity and make you want to die still. The constant waiting on appointments to a broken mental health system and not enough genuine people who are really good at understanding and the therapy stuff. That's a blanket statement. I know there are good people out there doing great things. However, there's a big shortage, and so just the floor is yours, man. Talk about Intelligent Waves. Talk about what the technology is, what it's actually doing, as much as you can tell us about it, because I want people to flock to this. I want better ways for people to heal. You healed yourself in 6 days. I healed myself with ayahuasca in a 7-day ayahuasca retreat, and I keep going back to the medicine. I keep learning more and more about myself. And so I'm curious, man. I'm all ears, dude.
So we had help, right? And that's the thing. You help yourself, but others are there for you as well. So what I can tell you about the technology is I'll try and make it as simple as I can. And I remember in the 90s, I went to the VA. I wanted to see a counselor because I was just having so many issues. And I met this guy and I thought, oh, this is the shit. This guy's 3 tours in Vietnam. So he's seen 100 times more combat than me. He knows what I'm going through. And 3 sessions in, he fired me as a client. He looked at me and said, you know what? You're triggering my stuff, buddy. I can't treat you. And I gave up. That was it. So when you think about trauma, and it doesn't have to be PTSD, it doesn't have to be military related, just trauma in general. When someone experiences trauma, they're trying in every possible way to make sense of it, right? That's meaning making. And when you go to a therapist, you're engaged in psychotherapy, talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. What you're doing is you're trying to inculcate that incident, whatever caused that trauma, into your autobiography. And you talk about it. Well, I don't know about you. I don't like talking about that, especially the people who've never lived it, because they just don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, and by the way, that could take 6 months or never. It could take years to talk to a therapist.
Really, truly.
So what happens in your brain when you're doing that, prefrontal cortex, right, in your brain is the executive network. That's where all of your anxiety, stress, pressure, decision making happens. You're creating these narratives. You're ruminating. If you're listening to this podcast and you've ever left a room with somebody in it and thought to yourself, "Why did I say that?" or "Why did they say that?" and you just can't get it out of your head, that's rumination.
Rumination, yeah.
And that's the front of your brain hijacking the entire rest of your neurosystem, and getting you nervous, excited, stressful. All those things happen. But what we're doing is we're using neuroacoustic technology. What does that really mean? Hey, if you got a set of headphones and you have an iPhone or an Android, you can download an app and we can play what sounds like nature sounds, music. It could sound like a lot of different things. But underneath that are neuroacoustic signals that are entraining your brainwaves into different states of consciousness. Now, interestingly enough, you've done ayahuasca retreats. Ketamine is a big thing for veterans these days.
Yep.
We can mimic those experiences without drugs. So we sent a veteran to a ketamine clinic down in Richmond, Virginia, put an EEG on him, listened, recorded that ketamine experience, and then reverse engineered it, put it into an entrainment algorithm, and now we can give people that experience without actually using the drugs. And so when you talk about things like ayahuasca, what it's doing is it's suppressing the default mode network.
Mm-hmm.
It's creating in the front of your brain, it's just taking things down to zero. So the back of your brain, which is where your vision, the occipital cortex is in the back of your brain, the anterior cingulate cortex is back there. Those are the emotional parts of your brain. Those are the symbolism, not the narrative. So when you use the technology that we developed, you essentially spend a half hour, lay down, sit down, close your eyes, listen to this. You don't have to do anything. And it will slowly and surely pull your brain into a state of consciousness where it suppresses all of your ability to make narrative and opens up the back of your brain and creates this symbolism. And what that really does, it allows you to experience that trauma disconnected from the emotion of it.
Yeah, so it's almost similar to what Ibogaine does.
It processes the trauma somatically through your body.
Yeah.
You digest it physically as opposed to psychologically.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work overnight. You feel it the first day, and everyone reports the same thing. They come out of this thing, it's this funny group of sounds. Most people feel like they fell asleep or they clicked out, but then they get up and they say, "Man, I just feel clear." And you do. You just have this clean, clear feeling. You're in this open, spacious place. And twice a day, every day for 28 days. And we start to see that people's neurology changes permanently. It's not a state level change for 30 minutes. It's a trait level change. We're actually on our 15th subject that we're trialing this on. I was at Columbia University earlier this year talking about this. We're actually starting a trial next month with some of the top neuroscience and psychologists in the country. The president and provost of Columbia are going to be part of this trial that they're doing. We're writing some papers now for publication with Dr. Marjorie Willicott. She's at the University of Oregon. She's a really well-known neuropsychologist. But the bottom line is you can literally use this in a lot of ways. One, to resolve trauma. But two, if you wanted to get into a state that ayahuasca takes you to, you could do it without the ayahuasca. I've never done ayahuasca, I've never done psilocybin, but I've had those experiences. When I talk to people who've done it, I've had them naturally without drugs. So the drugs are great because they're a scaffold that's a shortcut that'll get you to that state where you want to be there permanently. And I don't mean you don't want to be under ayahuasca permanently, but you want to be in that.
You do not want to be under it permanently.
But you want to be in that clean, clear state where you just feel equanimity. You're not ruminating. You're not angry. You're living your life. You're just centered.
Yes.
And balance. This is what over time that will allow you to do it. And I hate to say it, we formed a company to do this, but after a while, you just don't need it. First thing we tackled, because we're a defense contractor, we work with the Air Force Fighter Weapons School, their version of Top Gun. And we do human performance support. And it started with just keeping pilots that are flying in high G environments physically fit to fly. In fact, we hired some people whose resumes included Cirque du Soleil and Worldwide Wrestling to keep these guys going. Awesome. And the Air Force came to us and said, "Hey, we're having sleep and cognitive issues. How do we get people to get a good night's sleep?" And we actually now are we're working on a program that we're proposing to DARPA to keep warfighters combat effective on 3 hours of sleep, because we can simulate in your brain that deep, deep, deep sleep while you're still awake.
You can simulate REM?
No, not well. It's REM. It's NREM3. So you have two states of sleep. You've got slow wave sleep, which is delta brainwaves, the slowest, lowest brainwaves you can have. And what that does when you sleep is it shrinks the cells in your brain. You think about how your body cleans itself. You have a lymph system that cleans all your organs.
Yep.
There's no lymph nodes in your skull. So how does your brain clean itself? When you get into that slow wave sleep, those cells shrink to the point where they pull cerebral spinal fluid up over the corpus callosum. It soaks into your brain. And the longer you have that sleep and the deeper you have that sleep, the more it soaks. And when you wake up from that, those cells expand. They push that fluid back down your spinal column into your liver and kidneys, into your lymph system, and it washes the broken proteins, the amylase plaques, all the things that lead to things like dementia and Alzheimer's. It washes them away.
Man, I wonder how this would work paired with like craniosacral massage, because that's also doing the same thing, right? Like to free up
It's a little hard to massage the inside of your skull, but I get where you're going, because it drains your lymph. Drains your lymph.
I've had it done. It's really cool. I felt really great afterwards. But I'm falling into this basically this whole holistic healing path, right?
Sure.
So plant medicine. I am an ambassador for another emotional regulation training that uses a VR headset called Discover Reality, and it's incredible. The first time I ever put it on, I was like, man, this is awesome. It uses NLP to really help you, and I'm really excited about what you're telling me about intelligence waves, because like I'm all about this shit, man. Like all of this stuff is awesome.
Well, I'll give you a personal example. I don't know about you. I didn't really sleep very well for a long time.
I still don't sleep well. And this is why I'm fascinated by what you're telling me right now. Like,
well,
I'm going to text
the
number as soon as we're done with this.
We conducted a study. That's an Aura ring, right? That's a physiological biofeedback device. That's a Whoop. Pilots can't wear rings in the cockpit, so they wear a Whoop. And that gives you the physiological and biological feedback. The average, I'm 64 now, I'm old. The average 64-year-old man gets between 18 and 22% restorative sleep every night. Restorative sleep is a combination of slow wave sleep and REM sleep. REM sleep imprints memory and resolves emotional issues. It helps you wake up feeling refreshed. That's that's your dream cycle. Slow wave sleep is the physically restorative sleep. So the average 64-year-old, 60 to 70-year-old, 18 to 22%. I think I started with around 23 or 24%. Last night, I woke. I had a pretty good night of sleep. I only slept. How many hours did I sleep last night? 6 hours and 19 minutes. I don't know if this will show up on the camera, but my restorative sleep was 56%.
Nice.
And I don't use the tech anymore. My brain just knows how to sleep.
Yeah.
And everybody has that sleep issue. So we're working with the military on this. We work with first responders. But the ability to just go to sleep and stay asleep is the primer that starts your whole day. It makes your whole day work or not work.
Well, and sleep is so important to overall health, right? Like
absolutely.
That's why I just got a Whoop, because I've got the Apple Watch. I can't sleep with the Apple Watch on. The Whoop is way more comfortable to sleep with. It's not as cumbersome. Yeah. And now I'm starting to figure out, I've had the FBI's, Leah Kaler came on this podcast, the FBI sleep psychologist, to give us some lessons in like what you're supposed to do to prepare yourself to sleep and how
sleep hygiene. Yeah.
Oh man, sleep hygiene is so important. And just all this stuff fascinates me, because when you do start implementing these changes, you start to notice all these other things just getting better in your life. And that's why I'm I'm nerding out on this right now, man. I'm telling you.
Well, the unintended consequence, because there's always one for any kind of technology that you use, is we noticed in our 6-month study, not only were people getting improvements in REM sleep and in slow wave sleep, but neuroplasticity improves. And what is neuroplasticity? It's the ability
to learn things.
Yeah, exactly. So when you think about AI is the democratization of education. If you have access to AI, you have access to the accumulated knowledge of mankind in a box. And it could be a little tiny box like this one, right? It doesn't have to be a big box. The problem is you have access to the information, but in order to learn, I live in Falls Church, Virginia. It is, I think, the highest per capita income zip code in the United States, next to McLean and Bethesda and Potomac and Georgetown, where there's every advantage for every kid that's in school.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live in Southeast DC and you got to dodge bullets to get home and both your parents work and you're not food safe, you may have access to education, but access to learning is hard
Right.
because you're just not doing it. But if you just when you're sleeping, listen to the sleep tracks that we have, it will. I mean, this is a 6-month longitudinal study. If you're listening and you're a statistician, the P rating was 0.05, which is the highest level of confidence you can have in a study. For first responders and for veterans, it improved threat recognition by 20%. So
Wow.
just the ability to know that something's coming up. But it improved neuroplasticity 16%. So it democratizes the ability to learn. It will help you learn new habits. It will help you reconfigure how your brain works. At the end of the day, your brain isn't a computer. It's a step-down transformer for your consciousness. And what we're doing is we're allowing it to absorb more of what you're really capable of.
16% more. That's huge.
Yeah, that study is a published study. It's available for review by anyone. I was in Barcelona, Spain at the University of Arizona's Conference on Consciousness delivering a paper on that. It's called Postcognitive Symbolic Regulation. And it's the mechanics, the science of how it changes your brain state. And interestingly enough, the things that you do to resolve PTSD result in you having the same capacity as a Tibetan Buddhist monk who's been meditating for 30 years. Your EEG looks exactly the same.
Man, this is so awesome. Like oh man, like 2025, AI is here. Technology is just exponentially increasing. It's leveling the playing field on so many levels. And then you pair it with something like what you're talking about and increase your capacity to learn things, because you can learn things. You're talking about AI is democratization of knowledge. That's so true. DeepSeek last week just announced their new model that came out. It's the biggest model. It's trained on 685 billion parameters. So we're getting up almost to trillion parameters. I'm sure OpenAI or Anthropic will be the one that hits the trillion parameter model mark.
Yeah.
You have access to learn anything that you want. I'm a prime example of this. Allset Technologies, Tyler's a former Ranger. We don't have tech backgrounds. We're just infantry guys, yet we are often running with a technology AI first company, implementing AI and automations into other businesses and having success at it. And we're all self-taught, leveraging AI to teach myself how to do these builds and stuff like that. I'm really excited to get my hands on what you're talking about, because if that increases my capacity to learn at 16%, what does that do for me?
Well, that's over 6 months. Imagine if you just used it every day.
No, I probably, and I will. I'll be one of those guys that's going to sleep with headphones on every night to.
Great news is for that, you don't even need headphones. We built this in a way. This is technology that's never existed before. We took 50-year-old technology, updated it. For some of the entrainment, you must use headphones, but for all the sleep, you just put it on a speaker and go to bed. That's all you do. You can wear headphones if you want. You can put earbuds in, but at the end of the day, it's funny. I mentioned the talk at Columbia. One of the professors there, Xiaodong Lin, she's a fascinating woman. She's been spending 26 years studying failure with Michael Phelps and Simone Biles and people of that caliber. Really, failure as a stop on the way to success, which is hilarious, because she asked me, hey, can you get me in to talk to the military about this? And I'm like, lady, the military knows all about failure. One of the things I loved about the Marine Corps is that they're never afraid to say, hey, we got our ass kicked. How do we do it different?
Yeah. We do AARs for a reason after every single thing.
She doesn't sleep. She calls me 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Xiaodong, if you're listening, you do it. She decided she was going to go back to China for a series of meetings. She's originally from China. We gave her the tech to get on the plane. And from the airplane, she's sending me emails. This is the most incredible, transformative thing I've done. She now sleeps every night, 8 hours a night. She used to sleep 3 hours a night. This is not an exception. This is the rule. And so
let me ask you, with this technology, my biggest issue, it's not really sleep itself, it's getting to sleep.
Yeah. Well, it's either getting or staying, right?
Yeah, so I don't have trouble staying asleep. Now, mind you, it'll take me sometimes 5 or 6 hours after I lay down to fall asleep. and I wake up at the same time every single day, every day. It does,
Wow.
without fail. It just happens naturally. I'm curious. Does this tech help you get to sleep?
So you have a Whoop,
I
and
do. Yes.
in your Whoop, you're going to see sleep performance, and then you're going to see sleep efficiency.
Hmm.
Sleep efficiency is how long it takes you to fall asleep. And if you were to look at your Whoop, I don't know what it would tell you, but my sleep efficiency is 95%. It takes me on average 6 minutes to fall asleep.
I
And I
hate
wasn't always like that.
I
Oh,
hate you so
no.
much right now.
Well, it took me about 6 months to get there, right? But
Well, I mean, yeah, you
it's,
got to practice, right? Like you have to use the stuff,
well, yeah.
and I think that's what's awesome about your technology too. Is a lot of solutions that are out there. It's hard to be compliant. You got to put some device on or something like that. You're telling me compliance is really easy with this. You just push play and put it through a speaker and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Too
This,
easy.
this is a little different just from the standpoint that it's not work to do it. I mean, you can fall asleep, and a lot of people will report, "Hey, I either fell asleep or, I started and 30 seconds in, I was wondering what was happening, and then it was over." Like it's called clicking out. That's just a fuse in your brain going off, saying, "Oh, I was going to turn off your consciousness for a little bit so I can absorb this." So there's no bad way to do it. And I will tell you, and I won't mention his name, but we worked with. 2 tours in Iraq as a battalion commander, Army Ranger, retired colonel, ran the White House Communications Agency. I mean, this guy was a high performer. Long-term depression, didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to exercise. And 5 weeks after starting this, he called me and said, "Can I bring my son in and have my son come and experience this?" Because it had changed his life so much. So our goal now with Peak Neuro and with IW is to make this available to everyone, veterans, first responders, anyone, right? The whole idea with us, with veterans, when we talk about transition, one of your questions I thought was great. What's your key message to veterans? And to me, the answer is you're not alone, no matter how it feels.
That's it.
We pay it forward. I mentor 27 different people outside of my normal workday, and about 20 of them are veterans. And when I start a mentoring program with someone, I don't charge for it. People just call me and say, "I really like to get mentored." I always ask the same question. I tell them how old I am. I ask them how old they are. And I say, someday, when you're my age, you're going to get a phone call from someone like you asking for help. What are you going to say? That's how we pay it forward.
Yeah, man.
But for all the people who pulled me up, I'd probably still be unloading trucks somewhere. And
Dude,
not even for UPS.
I just had a moment like that yesterday. Vet booked a call with me. The whole premise of the call, he starts off, he's like, "I just want mentorship." And I'm like, man, that's so humbling. It's so awesome. And I get to pay it forward because so many people mentored me along this journey and still do, right? Like it's a never ending thing, but to be reached out to and to pay it forward and just help them not make the same mistakes that I made it's just amazing, man.
Yeah, it's an honor, a gift, and an obligation all in one.
Yeah. Tony, man, we've come to the end of our time here, dude. Amazing conversation with you. I want you to put all your socials out there. How can people find you? How can they, I know you already gave the number. If you would give the number again so people can get their hands on this stuff and really, start healing themselves and just living better lives, man.
So I'll give you a couple here. It's www.peakneuro.com. You can go to that website. That will have a link to the App Store or to Google Play. You can text Peak Trial, PEAKTRIAL, to 201-908-2820. Intelligent Waves, if you work for the government, you're in DoD, or you're a DoD customer, www.intelligentwaves.com. It's free to try. So if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to worry about it. I would tell you, I haven't found anyone yet who hasn't experienced it and thought it was a transformative experience in their life.
Man. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Tony Crescenzo from Peak Neuro and Intelligent Waves. Please, if you're interested in anything that was said here today, if you think that this can help you, try the trial. Try it for free. You have nothing to lose at this point. Just try it. And man, I can't wait to see all the results of people who listen to this and come to your technology and start using it. Tony, I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story with us and sharing everything that you're doing, man. And I really appreciate what you're doing for the community to help us heal outside of pills and therapy that we know isn't working right now. So just super grateful to know you, man.
An honor to be here with you, Adam.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next week with another awesome episode. Take care, everybody. That's our show, and I'm truly thankful you've joined us at The Strategic Veteran. If our conversation today sparked curiosity, or if you're ready to elevate your game, I'm here to help. Visit thestrategicveteran.com for exclusive show notes and resources, or to book a coaching session directly with me. Take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and share your review. Your support makes all the difference. For more insights and daily strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's your strategic advantage in action. Until our next rendezvous, stay bold and continue the mission.